everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Obsessed with Pickleball podcast. I'm Jane. I'm obsessed with pickleball, and thank you so much for watching my podcast. So we've been away for a few weeks for the holidays, but pickleball has not rested. So many things have been happening. First and foremost, we have the Masters coming up. I will be in attendance in Palm Springs this coming weekend for my favorite tournament of the year. If anyone is going to be in town, which I think a lot of my friends are going, so I'm excited, hit me up. Let's hang out. Let's meet. Let's mingle. And it'll be great. So we'll get into that. But to catch everyone up on what's going on in the pickleball world, biggest news, Annalie Waters has switched to Paddle Tech. I'm sorry. Annalie Waters has switched from Paddle Tech to Franklin. And it looks like JW Johnson and Georgia are out. So in this case, this is what I think Franklin's probably thinking in their head. Okay, we drop Jada, Georgia, and Julie. Take that money from the three of them, give it all to Annalie Plus. And it'll be really interesting if this moves the needle on Franklin, because like, I don't know how many paddle techs were getting sold when Annalie was with them for forever. I mean, I could research these numbers. But from my personal experience of playing with a lot of people, going to a lot of open plays, going to tournaments, I did see a lot of people with the Paddle Tech paddle. So it'll be interesting if she sells the Franklin. Now, it's important to remember that Ben Johns was the original Franklin star. Franklin was the paddle before he left to go to Yola. It was like, that was the big, huge news. Everybody used the Ben Johns Franklin paddle. Ooh, having a hard time talking today. The Ben Johns Franklin paddle. And now maybe the same thing will happen with Annalie's paddle. I'm excited to see. Let's just talk about the Masters, and we'll talk about some other stuff because I'm so excited. So the Masters is the tournament every year that kicks off the year. Everyone wears white. It's a huge tournament. We'll do the progressive draw, all of those things. And I just wanted to tell you guys the 5 things I'm most excited about. Everyone's already done their prediction, whatever, who's going to win. This is what I'm excited about. And then I'm going to tell you my 10 predictions for 2026. A lot of people have posted theirs and they're all good, and I agree with a lot of them. I'm like, yeah, but were they really that shocking? So I'm going to make some predictions that are a little bit more high money value. I've been starting to do a lot of sports betting when I'm not in California, and you gotta go for the big winners, right? You can't just bet on the team that you think is going to win. You have to bet on a team you think is going to win, plus a random anytime score, plus 100 yards for your tight end. You know what I'm saying? Then we've got to do a little parlay. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Masters. Things I'm excited about. 1, Catherine Parenteau, Rachel Warbacher partnership. I'm sorry, guys. I'm on brand. I stay on brand. I'm so excited to see Catherine and Rachel together. I love that partnership. 2, Annalie using her new Franklin paddle. So we saw when other big news came out that, when Fed went to Adidas, that was a big deal. But then he hated the Adidas paddle. So what is going to happen when Annalie goes to Franklin? Is she going to love the paddle? Are we going to have the same situation? I think the good thing for Annalie and Franklin is a very established brand. They make good paddles. That has never been questioned. And Annalie is so good, I would think she might be able to triple crown with the Adidas paddle. I don't know. In general, a lot of players are switching up their paddles. So I'm not as much interested to see how they play with those paddles, but I'm interested to see where they're going. We don't know where the Johnsons are going to be. Other people, Gabe Tardio, we don't know where he's going. It's going to be a lot. Jimmy Miller tweeted that Georgia, J-Dub, and Tyra might all be with the same paddle brand, and they might stay on the same MLP team. And I was like, that's music to my ears. I'd never wanted Jimmy Miller to be right about anything so much in my life. This is very Julie Johnson Academy coded, right? So there was time when it was Georgia, J-Dub, Dylan, Gabe, and Millie Ray were all best friends. They actually signed their MLP contracts as a group. It was a huge deal. Where are the Johnson 5 gonna sign with them? And it was really interesting. But the point is, I'm excited to see where all of these different paddle brands are going. Now, another thing I'm excited for is the men's doubles shakeups. We have Andre Diascu playing with Federico Staksrud and Christian Alshon playing with Hayden Patrickland. Federico Staksrud is really leaning into his right side male player, which I'm into for him. That's a very valuable role. I mean, I'm sure if you look around, you're like, oh, great. Like Gabe Tardy and Christian Alshon are like so valuable as partners because they're strong right side players. And now Fed's a strong right side player. So here we go. That'll be interesting. Who do you guys think would win that matchup? And the final thing I'm looking forward to at the Masters, besides like seeing all my friends and hanging out and having fun, is they're releasing a new reserved seating situation. So listen, they've upped their prices to $180 on Saturday for courtside for the non-shady section, right? So I was like, you have to be kidding me. Like, you're pricing me out of this. Now, I have a media pass, which means I don't have to pay, but I'm kind of confused how it works with the seating. So I also purchased a seat so I could sit, so I can know where I'm sitting and sit with my friends. I gotta figure out Friday, so I might have seats for sale, but they were selling out. So I was like, I gotta buy these seats, I gotta buy that seat, I gotta just buy seats for people. Anyway, I was like, these pricings are crazy, but at the same time, I can't go around complaining about seat saving and everyone being crazy about seats and then be mad. Then you're like, okay, well, then this is your seat, but you have to pay more for it. It makes sense. And enough people are willing to pay that $180 that, like, good for them. PPA, good for you. I can't blame you for whatever issues you have with making money. Make your money. I recently released a reel where I was kind of putting it out there, displaying that there was a big, huge, massive inadequacy between the amount of women who are represented in leadership, ownership, and media positions in the pickleball world. I mean, like crazy. Like none of crazy. You can go watch my reel. But I was thinking this morning, I woke up and I was like, I cannot continue to call these things out thinking that somebody else is going to fix the problem. I can't call out the dink for not having any influential voices that are female on their thing without finding a way to make someone to elevate someone who could have an influential voice. And I think the thing is, I hesitate about doing these things and saying these things for multiple reasons. One, imposter syndrome, obviously, like we all had it. Like, who am I to try to fix something? We all have to work through that. And then two, people thinking that I'm thinking it should be me. And obviously I'm not doing this to not have influence, but mostly I'm doing this for fun, right? Like I don't have any power at the PPA. I don't work at the PPA. Where are the women who have worked? That number one. And number two, if there are no women truly that you feel like could be nominated for influential voice, then that's the problem I want to solve, because I know there are women out there who could be an influential voice, who could have a power position at the UPA, who could be making, decisions. And why don't we have more female owners in MLP? Like, what is going on? And where's the systemic issue there that we don't have these things? My background is in the entertainment industry. I went to 2 film schools. I've been on crews where I'm 10 women out of 200 people crews. I've worked in, development side where the idea of a female director is still like novel, which is like crazy. It's 2026. So I'm automatically like more in tune to these issues than maybe somebody else is, because I'm used to being fighting this battle my whole adult life. Trying to be taken seriously as a woman. You get what I'm saying. So do I know the answer and the solution? Absolutely not. I don't. I'm starting from zero and I need to do a little research. I need to do a little networking. So tying this all back in together, if you are going to be at the Masters and you find what I'm saying about the inequality in representation in pickleball, a sport that is 50% women and has its biggest star win, hit me up. I would love to chat, browse the Pickleball Central table together, get some shade together, have a coffee, have a beer, whatever. I'm probably gonna just try to DM some people cold, like slide into some DMs, see if anyone wants to meet with me, because I truly don't know the answer, but I guess it is kind of crazy for me to keep throwing information at the wall, thinking someone else is going to fix it or people are going to care and not do something about it myself. Okay, I found my notes app, my favorite place in the world, and these are my hot takes for 2026. Okay. I think Jesse Irvin and Jay DeVilliers, which I want to add to the things I'm most excited about for the Masters, will receive at least 3 medals this year. Any kind of medal, 3. As the Zheng and Jesse Irvin era was so iconic. I don't know how to say this without being crazy, but like Jay's so nice and so supportive and friendly. And Jessie is, she's like serious on the court. So I think that's why they worked. Because whenever Jay would always be like, oh, sorry, Jessie, like in his French accent. You guys, that I'm going to, whenever they're playing, I hope they're in grandstand where I can sit like right next to them. And I just want to like get the vibe. I'll feel 5 years younger. Bonnie 5.0 posted on TikTok a picture of me, him, and a couple other people, Tyler Moon and his old partner from a podcast that they did that was kind of like a live during the pandemic with pro players called Pickle Juice. It was so good. I don't know where it went, but I was on it one time. And you post a picture, I'm like, my God, I look so young there. I'm like, yeah, that was 5 years ago that I was already deep into the pickleball pro scene. And if I had a baby that day, they would literally be in kindergarten. That's how long I've been doing this. And I'm like, oh, so that's how long I've been watching them. Like I went to the first Masters, I think. That's when me and Matt Wright, while sitting close to each other, both got cactuses stuck in our legs. I literally got a cactus stuck in my leg, went to the medic. They pulled the cactus out. I went back. You guys, I'm not kidding. And I did it again. I did it again. So Matt does it too. I mean, they're just like tapestry the whole time. And I'm like, I just went to the medic, and he was like, ooh, that sounds kind of like it might hurt. Like it's scary. I'm like, yeah, it did hurt, but like I don't want a cactus growing inside of me. And he was like, I'll risk it. And I'm like, okay. But I have a friend who literally got a cactus. Like she ran into a cactus and it got stuck into her skin. And the doctors were like, all you can do is it's just gonna live in there now. Is that crazy? So she got a little cactus tattoo and it's super fucking cute. Super cute. Okay. Jesse and Jay are gonna win at least 3 medals. I think the Kawamotos are gonna win at least 2 gold medals. I think Tyra and Georgia will win. Will medal. How many tournaments are there in the season? 20? I think they'll medal at least 16 times, any of the medals. Well, I'm sorry. I actually don't know how much they're playing together. I think they will medal every time that they partner together, except for 2 times. Okay, these are hot takes. Are you ready for this? I think that Gabe Tardio is going to go to the Mad Drops. I think Catherine is playing with Gabe. I think Gabe is obviously playing with Ben. I think it all ties in together that I think Gabe is going to go to the Mad Drops. And I know that Jimmy said that Tyra is going to stay with Dallas maybe, but I would not be surprised if the Palm Springs Royals or Palm Beach Royals, whatever, pay a lot of money for Tyra. Like the Dallas Splash is like, oh, we're just gonna pay whatever it takes to keep her. And then the new team is like, are you gonna pay this much? And Dallas is like, no, we can't. So that I'm trying to think if anyone else is gonna get dropped that would be as valuable as Tyra. And the answer is no. I wouldn't be surprised if Zane retired from Pro Pickleball by the end of the year. What? That just came to my head just now. But yeah, that's another prediction I'm making. This is a fun one. I like it. I think another power couple is going to merge. Obviously, right now we have Maggie Zheng and AJ Kohler posting cute little pictures all over Instagram. We had in the past Anna Bright and James Ignatovich. And I'm going to have Georgia and Jonathan Trom, which they're cute. I don't know yet who is going to emerge as a power couple. There's one couple that I'm not going to say out loud that I think might be happening right now. Okay. And I don't have any evidence besides just like perception. But maybe when I'm at the Masters this weekend, I can like ask like, "Oh, what's going on with that couple?" I will never share because I'm really good at keeping a secret, but it'll be fun for me to know. I think that either I don't think that Catherine will stay partners with Rachel, or I don't think Catherine will stay partners with Rachel and Gabe the whole year. I think one of those two partnerships will split before the year's over. I think Will Howes and Noe Cliff, which by the way, it's so boring, guys. MLP teammates should not stay teammates except for Tyra and Georgia because they're my favorite team. But I think they will medal, but I don't think they'll ever win gold. And then my last one is I do think Kate Fahey will beat Annalie Waters this year in singles. Other quick news, Lydia David has retired from Pro Pickleball. This hurt. I mean, it didn't hurt. I hope she's happy. But Lydia David is a legend, an icon. If you do not know how good she used to, not how good she used to be, how in the conversation she used to be of her level of play. She was one of the first round draft picks in the second MLP draft when Catherine went first. Yes, I understand that all of my references go back to Catherine, but she was that valuable. She might have been like the third or fourth pick. I think it was Catherine, Annalie, Andrea Coop, Viv, something like that. Her and Thomas Wilson were the number 2 mixed doubles team. They beat Ben and Anna Bright. I was at the tournament that they won. And then soon after, he, has to go on a long hiatus essentially for his health, which obviously, like, we're all cheering for Thomas Wilson. So her retiring is a big deal and made me realize, like, this new contract setup where they are basically playing for prize money and less for their contracts, and they're asked to take different contracts. That's going to be hard for a lot of players who aren't winning. I mean, the whole thing about the new contract setup, I get it. Everyone loves it. Oh, people will try harder. I'm like, you're telling me those top people that were competing weren't trying harder? I don't care if some of these players phone it in at these tournaments and they make their money. There are enough players trying to win to keep it interesting, and I would be fine like those players wasting our time if it kept the vast majority of players employed, paid, comfortable, happy. But that's just me. I don't really need a setup where Annalie makes more money. I don't need a setup where Ben comes and makes more prize money. When it comes to partnerships and pickleball and the way like the brackets and everything work, you can't, no matter how hard you try for a lot of players, you can't get to that point because you don't have a good partner, or, you're always on the same side of the bracket as so-and-so. Anyway, I think there could be more prize money, but it needs to be passed on through. It needs winning a round of 16 match needs to be, if you're going to mess with people's contracts, it needs to be hardy enough to make up for that lost money. That's my rant. Point is, I think we'll see a lot of other players this year retire because of that. Anyway, thank you for listening to Ramble. So, again, if you're at the Masters, hit me up. Follow me on Instagram, Obsessed with Pickleball. TikTok, Obsessed with Pickleball Pod. I'm on X, Obsessed with Pickleball. Subscribe to this podcast, like it. If you want to sponsor this podcast, DM me. And I am coming up next with an interview of the founder of Court and Crew, Maggie Zheng. Court and Crew is an apparel and lifestyle brand focused on pickleball. They do amazing community events. We talk a lot about the business of pickleball and the importance of building community, which I'm very strongly passionate about in pickleball, and just small business in general right now is completely driven by community building. So it's a really cool interview, and yeah, I will see you on the next one. We'll talk about the Masters, and Maggie, I'll see you at the Masters. Thanks.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am here with Maggie Zheng, the founder of Court and Crew, a pickleball brand that is super big here in the Los Angeles area. You can see her clothes on pros at pro tournaments, and it's really moving all over the country, which is great. So, what I've done in a few other of my episodes is really try to figure out business and branding when it comes to pickleball. And we've just talked about it, is that the demand and the amount of companies in the market has changed a bit and has kind of a weird perception. But before we get onto that, tell us about Court and Crew and specifically just your relationship with pickleball. Like, did you see the opportunity for a brand? I'm like, I'm going to do that. Or were you a pickleball player before?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Jane.
Of course.
Super excited to be here. I guess to kind of talk about Court and Crew, so we are a lifestyle and pickleball apparel brand. And it kind of started by accident because, like I mentioned, I used to work in tech and venture, and that was what I did in my career. So I lived in SF for a long time, and then when I moved to LA about almost 3 years ago, I started playing pickleball because I worked remote and I worked from home, so I wasn't going to be meeting any new people. And I quickly discovered that, a lot of people I fell in love with it for the same reason that a lot of people do, where it's easy to play, it's diverse. And growing up playing racket sports, it was just so fun to have another racket sport to play again. And I started playing pickleball at a time where I was actually looking to do something on my own. A year before I started Court and Crew, I told my boss I was going to quit. So I was the director of fundraising at an investments platform at the time. And I told him, hey, I'm going to quit because I want to do my own thing, but I'm so mentally and physically exhausted at the end of each day. I don't have time. Like, you don't have the time and energy to explore the things you want to do if your day-to-day preoccupies you. And so I wanted to quit and just give myself a few months to explore like all these ideas that I had. And this is getting into like a little bit of like real life, like my husband had just graduated business school at the time, and he, instead of getting like a normal corporate job, which he tried, he was like at Amazon and just really hated it. Yeah. He decided to start a creator agency. And I think we were in the same 2 months where I also wanted to quit. So I told my boss, and then I thought about it. I'm like, oh, but he just started his own company. One of us should be on a stable income. So then I kind of walked it back and I was like, hey, so I'm not quitting. But it was still during that time I started playing pickleball, and I realized, okay, this is such a fantastic sport. And I think what I loved about it was I feel like COVID really made a lot of us very comfortable staying at home or just being more introverted, I think, and sticking with our existing friends, our close circles. And that's fine. But I really believe that life is best spent with other people when you're actively out engaging with the world. And it brought me so many new friends. It was the first sport I was able to play with my parents and my sister. And it's so intergenerational, which I think is something that we're really lacking nowadays. So I wanted to bring that feeling to more people. And I also noticed that there was no brand designing apparel specifically for pickleball, where a lot of these brands were just relabeling their activewear as pickleball, or people were just wearing like tennis stuff. Yeah. But and arguably you can wear whatever you want to play, but there's a reason why people like to wear Wilson for tennis, or people like to wear Malbon for golf. Right. And pickleball as a sport culturally is so different. I think it's a lot more modern. It's not stuffy. And so I wanted to make a brand that represented that. So I flew to China for a month, and this was while I was still working full time. Okay. So I did a lot of, research on manufacturers, and I lined them all up in an Excel sheet, and I flew to China, and I basically spent a month touring factories, working with them on the production floor, figuring out our samples. And so it was like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. was my day in China working with our manufacturers. And then I'd eat dinner, and then 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. I was taking calls with founders in the US and Europe. So, you just have to make time when you're trying to build something new. And when I came back to the States, it was still in production, so I didn't really have anything yet. But I decided to start hosting meetups at the local park just to meet other people in the city and kind of tell them more about Court and Crew, grow my email list. So I was hosting events on Partyful, and the first event I did was 30 people, and it was just me inviting all my friends.
Right.
And then I would, record a little video and post it on Instagram. And then next week it was 60 people. And then the week after that it was 100. And then within a month we were at 200 people for the, like 8 courts at the park.
Right.
And I was doing this over the summer, like every single weekend I was out hosting with I bought 4 nets to get some extra courts. And that's how we started. And so people knew us a lot for our community and for our events before I even had any product to sell. So I think early on, that's what really solidified our brand image as being very community forward.
Yeah. So do you design the looks as well?
Yeah, so I do everything. So
yeah.
people are very surprised when, they see our Instagram and they see our events and things and they're like, wow, you must have a big team. It's me.
Yeah.
And I have someone who works part-time to help me with events, but I got her 8 months after I started the company. And then I've had on and off a few people who've done some socials as well.
I was going to say, do you do social as well?
Yeah, so I do socials as well.
Social's the hardest one.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time.
So much time.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. Do you have any kind of design or fashion background, or you're just I'm going to teach myself?
Yeah, well, so I'm a very I'll figure it out kind of person, but also so I was pre-med in college, but before that I actually went to Savannah College of Art and Design.
Okay, cool.
For fashion design.
Great.
So I did that, but I never, worked in it in a professional capacity. So it was very nostalgic for me to kind of go back and do this. But a lot of it I definitely learned in the process of building Court and Crew.
And so starting off with these events and trying to build your email list, so smart. Email lists are super hard to build and really important. Were you inspired to do that by any other brands? Has anyone done that before, in other sports? Do you see that in tennis? Because for me, it was super unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big inspiration for us was Melbourne. What they did with golf, I thought was very new.
I don't know
and
anything
refreshing.
about golf, so
yeah.
So
Well,
inform me.
Melbourne is this new, they're a very large brand now, but they're very edgy. It's not as stuffy as traditional golf brands. Also, I really love Little Tokyo Table Tennis. They're actually based in LA, and they run events in Japantown every Tuesday. So they have table tennis, but it's a streetwear brand for table tennis. Okay. So we reference them a lot. Also Sunday School. So they're also a streetwear brand. It's Korean inspired, but they make apparel, but they also make weed gummies.
Nice.
And so I looked at brands that not necessarily in sports only,
Right.
but brands that were kind of in industries that are traditionally boring or uninspired, and seeing how they added a modern cultural take to it. Because I think pickleball, a lot of pickleball apparel is the t-shirts with the slogans Dink responsibly, or I'm great in the kitchen, things like that. But I think a lot of people wanted something a little bit more chic than that, perhaps.
When I started playing pickleball, it was in Delaware at essentially a tennis club that added pickleball, and most of the women were older, and they were just wearing either very expensive but very tennis outfits, right?
Yes,
tennis outfits,
Yeah.
or they started wearing the brands that came out that were basically taking tennis clothes and adding hearts and pickleball paddles all over them, or definitely geared towards an older crowd.
Right.
And when I came back to LA and I was with a lot younger people, I noticed that I was one of the only ones wearing these really East Coast tennis outfits.
Yeah.
And most people were just wearing kind of workout clothes.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree that there was a middle ground there. So what kind of things in the design did you think made it different?
Yeah. Well, to start with, one thing about pickleball is that it's kind of different from other sports where you only need 10 minutes notice.
Right.
Most people don't plan their day around pickleball. They just slot it in wherever they have free time.
Yes.
Because, you're I have my pickle stuff in the bag
100%.
and I have,
It's in
a
the
change
car.
of clothes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go play for 30 minutes and then head home. And so it's very much like lifestyle based apparel, but it still has to be functional because you are still sweating, you are still moving around. And so I wanted to design things that could transition very easily kind of on and off the court. So the top I'm actually wearing right now,
Yeah, it's so
it's
cute.
the black version is on our website, but I've worn this top to pickleball. I've worn it to concerts. I've worn it to dinners.
Very like modern day, when they like before the pandemic, when every like clothing brand was trying to sell us like day to night, like office to happy hour. It's like the pickleball version of that.
Yeah. Because for me, like I'm very against like overconsumption and also overproduction, especially in fashion. There's a huge problem with sustainability and just so much apparel waste, and there's not really a great way to reuse it. And I looked into a lot of this when we were doing production of like, oh, how do we use dead stock fabrics and how do we kind of make this more circular? And I think part of it is just like you just have to make clothes that are more usable for a variety of situations. And like the feedback on this top was really, really good where people were wearing it. Because also we have a lot of creators in LA, they go to a lot of events, but then they still want to go play pickleball. So they'll just wear this and then they can do their whole day in it.
No, I definitely notice.
Yeah.
That I have twice as much laundry as the normal person should have.
Yeah.
Regular clothes and pickleball clothes, it's just constant laundry.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And I hate like wearing things once and then just washing it.
Yes. Same.
And
But you have to do that with pickleball clothes.
Yeah.
It's disgusting and sweaty.
I know. And so I feel like if I wear this for like, my day and then I play pickleball in it,
No, that
feels
works
a little more
it's
worth
like you're
it.
gonna get it dirty anyway.
Yeah.
Pickleball, so like who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's like stretching out your hair wash day, you know?
Yes. Like me today. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the community here in LA that you've created, because you did an event at Pickle Pop. I think you do pretty much any time a new facility opens. It's like, when is the Court and Crew event going to be there?
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about just like the growth and what it's doing now. And if you think it's like, obviously starting off and growing your email list is important, but now that you're more established and, people know, how is having this community still beneficial to your brand?
Yeah. I mean, so I talked about this a lot when people ask me like, oh, why did you start this brand? And for me, it's, obviously I want to build like a sustainable business, which means it has to be profitable. But also if I wanted like a wildly profitable business, I would not have gone into apparel.
Right.
It's like apparel is notoriously difficult, especially like consumer products are already hard because you have to deal with production and logistics and all that. And then apparel is another level on top of that because you have to deal with sizing. And for each SKU or each different design you have different sizes. And then it's always a little bit of a guessing game of like, how many of each should I order? And also with clothes, it's not like skincare or food where people will eat the same thing. It's like every season you have to come out with new stuff, spring, summer.
Yeah.
You need transitional pieces. And then what are the like colors of this year? It's so based off of preference and trends that it's not like apparel, like some things are evergreen, but with apparel, that's why even large brands constantly release new styles. So, but my goal with Court and Crew was really to build something that brought people together, which is why events were so core to what I was doing. And, once we were filling up this park, I started getting a little bit stressed where I'm like, okay, this is a public park. And granted, we were doing it on weekends where it was just really dead and super empty. So I felt like, okay, we're just using the space. But at a point I said, we need to move out of this space. And which is when I started doing private events with facilities in LA. And with that came the cost of court rentals.
Right.
And, I think a lot of the facility owners, so I'm very familiar with, I would say like 95% of the facilities in LA. And they're always very happy to give us a discount. But even still, they can get quite pricey, especially because our events are not just show up, come play, here's a court. But we bring in vendors, we bring in food and drink and mini games and activations, and we do a lot of We get professional photos and videography at every event. We have people doing check-in and greeting and instructors and live ball. And so the cost of that adds up, which is why we had to start selling tickets.
I was gonna say, I always wonder that about your events is if you sell tickets.
Yeah. So once we started doing private events, we had to.
I mean, it's so expensive.
Yeah, you just can't afford it. And even then, like most of our tickets, like we make maybe a few dollars per person off of that.
Totally.
Yeah. And so like I haven't paid myself for the whole time I was starting Court and Crew because all of it just goes into the business, but also just events by nature are not super profitable. And I also don't want to charge a ton for people to come and play pickleball. I still wanted it to be accessible.
Do you do like sponsorships with other brands? Do they pay you to come to be part of your events?
Yeah, so we
I think
have.
that's like the only way.
Yeah, but also like with vendors, a lot of brands like to do gifted products instead of paying to be there. And so there's some brands, if they're like very large, they'll pay in the thousands. We've had some in the tens of thousands for like very high production events. But for a lot of smaller brands, they're also kind of in a similar spot where they're just starting out. And realistically, I'm going to be so real, just like our events range from, let's say, 100 to most, it was like 500 people, right? But then if you're one vendor, like you're really not making that much. And so it's not really, it doesn't feel right to charge them a ton to be there. It's more profitable for them to go to like a holiday market or like a street fair type of thing where there's thousands of people coming and going.
And also people don't come to pickleball. I mean, I noticed the same thing.
Yeah.
People don't come to pickleball to shop.
Yeah.
You know, they want to play. It's every event I've either done with my own company or with Pickle Pop, everyone thinks there's going to be all this, that maybe pickleball won't be the focus. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you right now, everyone is going to play pickleball the whole time. So people will be like, oh, what if we had one court that was vendors? I'm like, no, nobody wants that. Yeah. Everyone is going to be mad that a court isn't playable. So I understand that. I mean, I guess, are any brands, interested in just being there to be so like part of your social?
Well, because like I come from the tech world. And so like everything I do, I'm like, okay, how do we make this serve the business too? And so with the vendors that come in, I always like, very minimal cost, sometimes free. And one, it's beneficial for our attendees to have vendors there because it's still just like something to look at while they're waiting. They like checking out new brands and things. I'm not going to guarantee you like tons of sales, but people will learn about your brand, right? And then for brands, it's like a way to like give out samples and for them to capture content, and so a lot of them will bring in, some of their video team or things like that, get some photos. We also do include them in our socials and in our event recap and things. And I think that has a lot of value because you're essentially getting like professional photos with real people. And I think getting a chance to interact with potential customers face to face and getting feedback is still very valuable.
And then, so how about social media?
Yeah.
You do a really good job first of all, you do a really good job of differentiating what you put out on TikTok and what you put out on Instagram, which I think is really interesting. That like is so true. Like all your talking to camera stuff, like it's going to be so much better on TikTok than it's on Instagram, but either here nor there. So yeah, how has social media, how have you incorporated it into the brand, and how beneficial do you think it is? What is and you really do it all yourself.
Yeah.
But not the videoing.
Yeah, I do the videoing
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I had been making tech content on TikTok for like years before I started Court and Crew because I worked in startups and there were a lot of people at like large companies like Google or Facebook making like day in my lives where they're like, oh, I wake up at 11 and then I get my free lunch and, work 4 hours and make 300K, whatever. But working at a startup was very different. And so I would share a lot of my experiences, what it's like, also just like how to think about business principles.
Yeah.
I think I would just like break it down for people. And so when I started Court and Crew, making content and socials was something I was very familiar with. And it was huge for our growth. Like I started Court and Crew from scratch with like 0 followers. And I think we were hitting like 2 million views a month when I had maybe like 400 followers
That's
on the
crazy.
account. Just like
That's
things were going
crazy.
so viral for us. And also because we were back then, like 2 years ago, no one was really making that much pickleball content.
Yeah,
And also barely anyone was hosting that much pickleball stuff. And so I think we were just like all over people's Instagrams and people would find us and find our events.
No, you were all over it.
Yeah. And I never ran ads for the first 2 years. And ads have not really been like really any significant driver of growth for us.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So how many Instagram followers do you guys have now?
We have like a little over 10,000 right now.
And you're getting, even with 10,000, getting that many views is crazy.
Yeah. Like we have, like basically the way I think about our content is there's like 3 different buckets of content that we do. So I do like founder, startup, building a company, storytelling type things. And then we have like funny skits and stuff, which you'll see in a lot of pickleball content.
Yeah.
And funny stuff is always just going to be very shareable. People will
Yes.
engage, people will tag their friends. And then we also have educational content,
Right.
or kind of more informational things. So we'll interview pro players. We'll like do like, oh, who covers the middle,
Yeah.
how to hit a drop shot, things like that. And informational content gets saves and follows much more
Yeah.
than like funny stuff.
This is actually has come up with multiple people that I've talked to, and I think about it all the time. And our social media manager at Pickle Pop always tells me, it's like you do these skits because they get views.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, I know I'm not really adding any value
Yeah.
to the conversation or really selling my brand, but like you have to do it to get the views. And then the more developed content, I guess, is getting you saves and follows. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I also think skits are a good way to kind of demonstrate the culture of your brand.
Yeah.
Like what you find funny and the kind of humor
Yeah.
content that you put out signal something to viewers.
Oh, no, definitely. Some
Yeah.
of these videos that everyone thinks are funny, I'm like, enough with the penis jokes. Something that I used to run a pickleball facility, and it's a really interesting way to, over the last couple years, I've been playing pickleball since 2020.
Yeah.
I've been like super into pickleball. It's like 2021, like following all the trends, obviously the matches, the players, how the business has changed. And after running Pickle Pop for 2 years, I feel like I got a really insider look at the business side of pickleball from the standpoint of facilities. And it's a little bit hard to gauge in Los Angeles because our weather is so good. There isn't a huge need for indoor facilities. And we have a lot of parks, but they're full a lot because they're essentially free.
Yeah.
So people are willing to do it. But then the places that you have to pay more. But this is so crazy. So I was basically doing like an end of the year budgets to like move, like a personal budget to move into the next year.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about all these fixed costs I have that are crazy. Like I do a lot of my own businesses, obviously this and then other things. And I'm looking at my Canva account, my Adobe account, my Zoom account, all of these things that are like, you think are really small and they add up to all these fixed costs.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well that's fine. Like, and then I was thinking about, I was like, I'm going to play more free pickleball now and like stop spending all this money on these facilities. And then I did the math. I'm like, even if I'm playing with my friends for 2 hours and it's $4 for each of us, and I play $20 times a month, that's $80 of fixed cost for the cheapest thing. So then you're adding on all of these facilities. It gets so expensive.
Yeah.
But in these other places where the weather's bad, people are going to be willing to pay a significant amount of money for indoor courts.
Yeah.
But the vibe I'm getting, without being like stats genius, is that the amount of facilities coming in is really outpacing the growth of new players. And when you play a lot, you're not going to play at a facility that you're paying money for every single day. And so it gets difficult. So I feel like the rise of new pickleball players is going to start slowing down a lot. I don't know the stats, but just from experiencing it firsthand, like experiencing the difference between our regulars and new players. So what are you feeling in that way of like the player growth versus how busy the market is in the fashion world or in the apparel world?
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts about this,
Great.
both as a brand owner and also I looked into opening a facility earlier this year, actually, with a friend, because it made sense for us just because we host so many events and we were spending so much money on court fees. And I just felt like, oh, I could do so much if I had a space of my own. And then you look into, especially LA, real estate is just so expensive, which is why really all the facilities in LA, it's kind of like a donut where the center of LA, there's like virtually nothing.
Yeah.
Because you have to get pretty much.
There's no space.
Yeah, I think you have to get under like $1 a square foot or $1.50
yeah.
to make it make sense. And you just can't find good real estate anywhere. But also, I think a lot of people, you know, fell into the whole pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America. There's so much demand. I'm going to make so much money if I open up a facility, because they expected it to keep growing at the same pace it was. But that's just not going to be the case. Like I think with all sports, it comes and goes in waves. Like skateboarding was huge and now it's not huge, but now it's coming back. Or like golf is having a really big moment now, and also tennis is having a really big moment. And I think pickleball had its heyday 1 or 2 years ago where it was really happening, and now it's still growing, but definitely not at the pace it was. And a lot of brands are feeling that, especially a lot of apparel brands in pickleball. When they launched, it was very like anti-tennis, you know, like not for tennis players, we're for pickleball players, blah, blah. And now I see them running ads for golf and tennis and pickleball.
Totally. You're like, I'm not going to narrow myself down to one sport.
Yeah.
Anyone, I'm happy to have anyone buy it.
Exactly. Yeah. They're like, I got to expand the demographic that I'm selling to. And even the paddle brands, you know, I know a lot of brands that have laid off a lot of their staff, or a lot of brands who've drastically lowered the prices of their paddles just because they're not moving.
Paddles.
Yeah, paddles. I mean, just $300 for a paddle,
Crazy.
I think is so expensive. Especially
and paddles, you have to replace them so often.
Yeah, it lasts for a few months if you're playing a lot, and that's a big investment. You know, like pickleball, once you get into the higher levels, it's not a very cheap sport to play.
No.
It gets really expensive. So I think we're seeing, you know, a lot of people got into it. I have a lot of paddle brands who had like small indie paddle brands, but we're still doing well. They're just like, I'm just offloading inventory and I'm kind of done with it. You know, so I see a lot of that happening. I do think like there is room for pickleball to grow, and it's still growing. It will just take time. And I made a video about this that I think was kind of controversial. I didn't think it was controversial. Okay. But I went to PPA finals or masters or something.
Is this where people didn't know that they were standing next to Ben John?
Yeah.
Okay, tell the whole
Okay,
video,
so
though.
I was invited to go to watch the PPA, and I was in the VIP section. And because pickleball started in Seattle, so it was with the Seattle Tourism Board.
Yes.
And the woman there wanted to get a photo with us, right? So she just asked some guy in the VIP section to take a photo, and he thought she wanted a photo with him. And she was like, oh no, like, can you just take a photo for us? And I was just sitting there watching the game. I didn't know this was happening, but then I heard that and I turned around and she's literally talking to Ben Johns, who's, you know, the best pickleball player in the world. And he was just like, oh, yeah. But I think it ended up like his friend took a photo for us or something. And then later I asked him for a photo. And I'm not usually someone who gets very like starstruck, or I don't really have any celeb crushes or anything, but I was really nervous to take that photo.
Yeah.
It was just so surreal because it happened so fast. I was not expecting it. He just like was there. But that to me was like a really good example of how pickleball is perceived by the rest of the world, like people who aren't in the pickleball world, which is no one really knows anything about it. You know, like people don't know pro pickleball players.
Which is obviously, I forget because I know everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, no one's watching this. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I've always been very aware of this, where I feel like, you know, 90%, maybe more, of people who play pickleball don't follow pro pickleball. Like I personally find it very interesting to watch, but maybe from an outsider, you're like, maybe I'd rather watch tennis. That's like a lot more physical and a lot more grunting, and there's a lot of, you know, show around it.
Yeah.
But pickleball's not there yet, at least in the US. I think in Asia, they're like very, very excited about it, you know?
Oh yeah,
it's a huge thing.
For sure.
But in the US, there's not as many people watching, which is also why there's not a lot of money in pro pickleball. A lot of friends are, trying to go pro or are pro, but you just don't make money.
Yeah, you have to be top. You have to be the top people to make money. And but I also think a lot of the idea of like what makes you a pro is really interesting. And especially like in Southern California, we have a lot of pros where it's like, right, like what makes someone a pro. But I also never played tennis. And I feel like all these pickleball players who are like, oh, they're a professional tennis player. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what is these tours? Like, I don't understand. So yeah, I guess if you play on the professional circuit of the PPA Tour, you're a pro, but like you're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
Like, if you're coming right out of college tennis, great, you're young. But let's say you're like 35, you're ready to go pro. It's like you're not going to hit the top. You're never going to make money.
Yeah. And some people put off their careers. They put off schooling to pursue this, which I'm always like super supportive.
I mean, you can relate.
Like you should go chase your dreams.
Make a brand
for sure.
Pickleball
but
clothes.
I think there just are challenges when you are trying to become a professional athlete in an industry that is still kind of finding its legs.
Yeah.
It's just very challenging.
My view, which I want to learn a lot more about, which is one of my goals for 2026, is like youth in college. I think the next business opportunity and growth opportunity is going to come with the kids playing and colleges playing. I think once you get that, it becomes more, I think, a sport versus a hobby. Like if you start getting pickleball teams in college, that becomes a college sport. And once you start getting these kids, giving them opportunities where they can see, I can go to college for pickleball, I can become a pickleball pro player, then their parents are going to pay whatever. Like we've seen it in how many sports.
They're like, I want NBA players. They're like, no, I want PPA players.
No, I mean, no, like I played lacrosse growing up and there's no like professional lacrosse, but you could get into colleges. The whole goal for lacrosse players is not to be a professional lacrosse player. It's to get into Princeton, right? So it's like, because those schools have lacrosse teams that are really good, you're like, okay, I'm never going to get into Princeton or Brown or Northwestern on my own. But if I'm really good at lacrosse and I have a good enough GPA, so that's what everyone was fighting for. And then all the parents are like, okay, I'll take you to 15 tournaments every summer. I'll pay trainers. I'll pay this, because the long game is Ivy League. Yeah. And parents are crazy.
Yeah. It's an investment.
It's an investment. It's an investment. And like for their kids, they'll pay anything. And like these tennis academies. So I think there's something interesting coming up there, because it is really confusing of what's going to happen on the business side.
Yeah. And colleges are adopting pickleball.
No, they are. That's what I'm saying. I think it's going fast. Yeah. I think it's moving pretty quickly. And especially now, it's like all these players all these like college kids who didn't make the tennis team, or who were like athletic in high school, and now they come to college and they don't have a sport, and they're like, oh, I can play this sport and be like on the college team. I think it's going to be really, I think that's the future. So what has been the biggest surprise for you? I want to talk about the biggest surprise for you in the pickleball business space. And then after that, like your advice for other founders.
I think for me, what was really surprising was, like, we've only been around for, like, I've only had product, like actual clothes for sale for about a year. And I think what's really surprised me was just like how quickly we were able to, I think, break into pickleball and just like reach like the top of like pickleball, where I designed uniforms for the Phoenix Flames, which was crazy to me, because those are like players that I recognize that are really famous, like Tyson McGuffin, like Jeannie Bouchard, Jack Sock, Jesse Irvine.
And that team has the most famous players. So that's actually, it's like they might not have Annalie Waters or Ben Johns, but they have like the most famous players in the world. Yeah. Like Jeannie Bouchard and Jack Sock. Yeah. Even Tyson McGuffin probably has one of the biggest followings in pickleball. Yeah. Like that's a good team to design for. Let's put it that way.
And that was crazy. And just so many business opportunities came from random things. Like I was in Taiwan for a friend's wedding, and I was like, I'm going to host an event in Taiwan while I'm here. Yes. And the owner happened to be in Taiwan, and he came to my event. So we got connected that way. And, that's how I ended up designing clothes for their team. And I designed it for his league team later as
Oh,
well.
that's crazy.
And, you know, so all of a sudden we're being worn in like PPA games. And then we were able to work with Equinox and the Ritz and just like so many cool brands like Barry's Boot Camp. A lot of like my favorite brands.
Yeah, you guys did berries.
Yeah. And just, I think because we did events at such a high level, and also what's really important with events is that you have to get good production out of it, right? Like you can't just throw an event, you have to be like, okay, how do I use this for other things? Events are very labor intensive, they're expensive, they take a lot of work, but you can get a lot of footage and assets and content out of it, you know, getting interviews, talking to customers. And so I really try to make sure that we're very efficient and use every event well, you know. And I think that was really surprising to me. Where under a year, we were able to like get all these partnerships. Like we were Twitch hired us to run pickleball at their 10-year anniversary in San Diego for TwitchCon. And that was huge for us. It was just such a big opportunity.
Yeah.
And because when I first started, I threw a party in San Diego during Twitch weekend for Twitch creators, but it wasn't official. It was just like, we're there, we're in the same time, and we invited all these creators. And then the next year, Twitch actually invited us. That was surprising to me, but it also shows that like, because we're a very small brand, like employee of one, you know?
Right.
And the fact that we were able to kind of get access to all these players in pickleball and also just in fitness in general kind of spoke to, I think one, just pickleball community is small and a lot of people discovered us because we were doing something different. And then with our events, I think everyone's realizing the power that community has and bringing people together like in-person events. So a lot of people wanted us to help them out with that. That was very gratifying to see because I always believed in it, but it's cool to see, you know, other people recognize the value in it as well.
So I used to work in entertainment and I was in development for a while. And there was a time period in like TV and movies where aspirational was always the goal. Yeah. Where every show you wanted to see aspirational content. So you had all those like, even all the like, you know, women murdering or like mysteries, they were still all rich and beautiful, you know, so very aspirational. Yeah. But I think in pickleball, one of the things is community. Like you want to be with the cool kids. Yeah. Like
you want to be part of something.
Yes. Yeah. But it's aspirational in two ways. One, we've all transitioned into like wanting to be good. Like we all started playing for fun and now all of a sudden like it's like we want to be good. So you want to get invited to that game with the really good people. Then I see your events on social and I'm like, wow, how did they do that? Like that's such a cool community. That's such a fun event. Everyone looks like they're all best friends with each other and they're all having fun, and it makes you think like, I want to be in that community too. Yeah. And so yeah, I think that was like just really genius what you guys did.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about like, how do you make people comfortable when you go to an event? Or how do you create opportunities for people to become friends? You know, because I've been to so many tech happy hours or like mixers and things. I think in big cities, there's just always a lot of those socializing things. And I've left a lot of them feeling like, okay, like that was fine, you know? And when I started hosting my own events, I purposely built in a lot of things to make the social mixing easier. Yeah. So when I was hosting at the park, I was always the one greeting everyone at the door. Like, hi, welcome to Court and Crew. Have you been here before? Like, here's where everything is. Here's a few other people. And I'll introduce people to each other so that they can start conversations, because it can be very daunting to talk to someone new on your own. And also at all of our events, we have different level courts. So we have beginner courts, we have, open play, we have challenge courts. And I make sure that it's not the whole time sometimes, but we have instructors to teach beginners, because I think, it's scary to go to a sports event and not know how to play, not have a paddle. You also don't want to be stuck on a court with everyone who knows how to play and you're bad.
And they hate you.
Yeah. Or you feel like they hate you. Even if they don't mind, you're just like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. This is a terrible game for you. And so I try to set up things where people feel comfortable with, similar levels, or like similar occupations or hobbies or interests. I think having vendors and activities at events helps too, because let's say you only want to play a little bit and then you want to go play mahjong, or you want to go check out this like beauty product or something, then you can hang out there too. So I think just like creating things for people to do and creating opportunities for them to interact was a big part of how we got people actually making friends. And I've had people find their boyfriends, find their girlfriends. I met someone, I was talking to a friend in Taiwan. She's like, oh, I'm meeting up with so-and-so in Taiwan as well. I'm like, how do you know her? She's like, we met through Court and Crew and now we're best friends. And that was super cool to me.
Yeah. That is something that sometimes when I get kind of, it's definitely, my relationship with pickleball definitely changed when I started. Pickleball was always most of my life. And then when it became my whole life, it did get a little, like when you're running a business and people are mean to you and like they're complaining, you get a little like down.
Yeah.
And then I had a birthday party and it was just at my apartment.
Yeah.
And I was like, 95% of the people that are here right now
pickleball.
are my pickleball friends.
Yeah.
I have like a handful of my college friends and like a few grad school friends. And then everyone else I knew from pickleball. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You have to like remember, we're very lucky to be in the pickleball community.
Yeah.
And to have found that. I agree. Like you can go to a pickleball event and make friends and it's awesome. What advice do you have for founders of any brand who could be listening to this? Because I definitely want to expand this podcast, which I think pickleball needs to do in general, is like break out from the niche.
Just like in our own little pickleball
Like
bubble.
we're all
and be like,
obsessed with each other,
pickleball
like
is
such a
great.
bubble. I mean, that's what pro pickleball needs to do, right? Like they need to find a way to create stories that other fans of sports want to watch.
Yeah.
So if you like watching sports, why wouldn't you like watching pickleball? Like I have a really good friend. She watches sports, every sport, and she watches pickleball, and she's come to pickleball tournaments with me multiple times. She doesn't play pickleball. She doesn't know anything. Now she knows everything.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But she's like, I just like watching sports.
Right.
And other sports have done a really good job of this, where they've somehow like created storylines and broaden it. I do think college has a big way of getting it. But the point is, pro pickleball needs to sell the storylines a little bit and get people who just like watching sports. Like I don't play any of these sports I watch.
Yeah.
Like I don't play basketball.
Right.
I love WNBA.
Yeah.
Obviously don't play football. I'm super attached to my team. So they're trying to do that with MLP as well, like get those storylines up. But the point is, so what advice do you have for all founders, not just specifically in the pickleball business? Don't sleep, work all the time.
That's a very big question.
Well, from your experience,
Yeah.
like what's something you learned that you're like, oh, I didn't know this before I started this company?
I think there's like some like broader like mindset things I could talk about. And then there's like some more practical things.
Mindset.
Start
with mindset.
I think if you're thinking about starting a brand, and I have had people like reach out to me because I do, post content. And so they'll reach out and be like, okay, I want to start a brand. Like, what should I do?
Yeah.
I think like, don't start with the product itself. Don't start with the product itself that you're like, oh, I want to make this thing. Instead, start with like, what is going on in the world, or what is a problem that I'm experiencing, or what is something that I'm noticing that I want to solve for, that I want to change. And then figure out, 5, 10 different solutions or ways that you could solve that. And then, ask people and then figure out like, okay, what's the solution? Because the product itself is not like, oh, I'm just making this. You're making it for a purpose, right? So then figure out what that is. Because, maybe in a few years, people don't like the stuff I make, or they don't like the clothes I'm making. The fashion trends change. They decide they want to wear tracksuits or something totally different, which I love tracksuits, by the way, so that'd be great. But, but the human need for community and belonging is always going to be there.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something different, maybe it's just a different format. But I think really start with like, what are you trying to change in the world? And then go from there. And I think when you're running a business, it's so easy to get caught up in like, oh, I have to be profitable. I see other people just like crushing it on social media and all this stuff. But I think if you have a really strong mission of like why you're doing this, you always have to go back to that. And even for me, like I've definitely gotten burnt out building Core and Crew. Like I was so burnt out a few months ago. It's just like it wears you down, you know. And when you're building a brand, everything feels very personal to you. And so like business wins are great, but that lasts like the high lasts 5 seconds, and then you're like, I have so many other things to do.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, you just take it so hard. But then like a good customer review or someone telling me that they found a new friend or that our events made, you know, help make the move to the city so much easier. That's a really good reminder of like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Because you're giving up a lot to start something of your own, like time with your friends, time to sleep, time to rest, time to work on yourself, play pickleball, even, you know? And so what you're building has to matter a lot to you, and it has to be worth it.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the good thing about pickleball, if you love it and you love what it brings, is that, like I'll have a really, really hard week. And then somebody will say something like, oh, because of what you did, like we are all like such good friends. I was just at her daughter's graduation, or like something like that. And you're like, okay, it's like the little wins that you have to remember.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, like you just want to feel like what you're doing is making a difference in someone's life, or making it, you know, a little bit better. Like sometimes we get orders for like, oh, I want to wear this for my wedding reception. You know, we have a pickleball thing, or I want to wear this for my birthday. And I love those little things because I'm like, oh, you're ordering it for like a special occasion.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. I can see like that top that you're wearing.
Yeah.
If they're doing, or even like Sunday morning after the wedding, pickleball day, or like the bachelorette. We had a lot of bachelorette parties. So what's next for Core and Crew? Wait, one more thing I want to say about what you just said. It's actually so true with the brand that you built. Like when you're watching your content, you're not always like, that's an apparel brand. So you could do everything the same, and I could be like, that's a cruise company brand. That's whatever X, Y, and Z brand. So I think that is interesting. You could go any kind of direction.
Yeah.
So like, what's next? What are you guys working on next? What can we expect?
So for me, like, you know, I talked about like building a brand and really knowing like the purpose of why you're building it. Right. So to me, like apparel is just, it's like if a spoon is just a vehicle for soup delivery, right? Like apparel to me was a vehicle for delivering community and shared experiences and, you know, and friendship. But also events was a big part of that. And I think right now, like moving into the next year, we are going to be doing events, like higher production events, like larger ones. Like we've done so many in LA. We've done some in other cities as well. But I think I want to do things on a larger scale. So we are working with some different brands on event production. And also with apparel, like for me, like I talk about, you know, coming out with like very purposeful pieces that you can wear for a lot of things. I want to focus a lot more on that. Like we aren't going to be doing events with as much frequency, so I'll have more bandwidth to come out with like really, really special pieces. I think the challenge with activewear is just like you can innovate, but it cannot go too crazy.
Right, like it still has to support the activity.
It has to work. And people also don't want like frills and bells and whistles because you're moving around. And so we might do like a few other pieces that are a little bit more lifestyle. Maybe get into some outerwear, things like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of outerwear.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of pickleball tournaments, and that is something I would love is more, because I feel like I'm either wearing like just regular kind of athletic, like yoga pants and like whatever, or I'm just like wearing a full on tennis dress.
Yeah.
And I think Wilson has made some cute tops that are kind of transitional, but yeah, I do think the idea of like we're all not getting dressed up as much anymore.
Yeah.
It is like a middle ground of what you can wear during the day.
Right.
So yeah.
Wilson actually came out with a dress. I think it's called the Marta dress that I really liked. It's a white tennis dress, but it had like a sheer mesh overlay that you could put over it that made it look like a cute sundress with little buttons, and then when you want to play tennis, you just like take it off.
That is cute.
So I like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I know what you mean, where I think, you know, people are either super dressed up or they just don't really care as much.
Yeah.
But I also like this kind of middle ground where it's like a transitional piece where
No, that's what I'm saying about some of the sets that Wilson has done, is that like the tops you can wear other places if you don't want to wear your tennis skirt, but they're still so Tennessee too. Just, and in general.
Yeah. And kind of on the topic of just like pickleball is more accessible. I didn't want our clothes to have like that country club exclusive feel. Where like our brand is still a premium, like everything is really nice material, soft brush fabric, all of that. But I've never branded it as something like, this is super bougie and out of your price
Wilson
range.
is definitely bougie.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
Tell everyone where they can follow you, what they should do, how do they get on your email list, what's the next event, what's going on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for listening. I'm Maggie, and if you want to follow Court and Crew, you can find us on Instagram at The Court and Crew, and then you can find our website. We have a holiday sale right now, so it's thecourtandcrew.com.
All right, guys, thank you. Oh yeah. Also follow me, Obsessed with Pickleball on Instagram, Obsessed with Pickleball Pod on TikTok. Share this podcast, comment on this podcast, listen to this podcast. Just play it in the background, like to get views. Like, I don't care. You don't even have to really watch it.
We have to support women-owned businesses.
Exactly. Yeah, you need to support me now because I don't have a job. So watch this podcast. All right. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.